Welcome to the Prosper series, where we share the stories of remarkable veterans and military families who have prospered in their life after service. I'm your host, Talissa Papamau. I'm a veteran myself, having done 7 years in the Australian Army. In today's episode, we welcome our guest, Sam Lang.
Thanks, Talissa. Thanks for having me, and looking forward to the chat today.
Sam is a member education consultant here at CSC. He started in the data entry team in 2007 and has grown within CSC to find his calling in member education. Sam comes from a family with a strong military background. His father served in the RAAF and his mum was a nurse in the Air Force also. His partner was a serving member in the Air Force until recently. He wants to use this unique vantage point to assist CSC members and give us some insights into his story in this episode. To kick us off, can you talk us through your journey with CSC so far?
It's been probably one that I never expected, to be honest. I took a 3-month contract almost 16 years ago now, actually a bit over 16 years ago now. That 3-month contract has turned into over 16 years of enjoyable work, work I never thought I'd be involved in. And somehow ended up back effectively in the defence space, despite the fact I didn't join up myself. As you mentioned, starting in various teams throughout CSC, which has definitely helped with the role that I'm in now to be able to assist members as much as possible.
No, that's fantastic. And so with the role that you're in now, member education, tell us a little bit more about what member education do here.
So when I first started in member education, it was very much a sort of question and answer space, but it was on the very technical side of things. Most people that come through our team have a lot of technical expertise. And in the last couple of years, it's actually sort of tailored to a bit more general financial literacy, which I think has been a very good transition, mainly because, one thing we highlight very regularly is it's all well and good knowing how the benefit works, but if you don't know what you need in retirement or you don't know what you need out of the benefit, then having the numbers or having the formulas don't actually help you very much. So we definitely still have that technical expertise, but we're trying to provide a big picture conversation rather than necessarily just a very specific, technical response.
I think that's been a fantastic move with CSC. As you know, we first worked together in 2018 after I'd left the military and was in government consulting space. And I think that was maybe some of the beginning, if you agree, of the transition into providing financial education in a way that is more digestible and more sort of tailored towards the everyday people. I am certainly been very impressed with the technical expertise across CSC, and I'm certainly no expert myself. Financial literacy and financial wellbeing is something that I think is critically important to the veterans, and I would love to see veterans improve their financial wellbeing and financial literacy, particularly when they serve. So to that end, what would you say the most common questions are from veterans that you get as a member educator?
So I think the simple question we get a lot is just, what will I get? And, it's as much as it's maybe a simple question and an important question with regards to their, financial freedom and financial future, it is that sort of top level or high level question. When we sort of start having the conversations, that's where we start to get a lot more in-depth sort of, what does this person want rather than what have they asked. And I think that's something we've started to differentiate from, a question will come in, but we're starting to engage the member to really dive into why did that question come up. But more often than not, it's very much around the, what will I get or how do I claim it? But there's a bigger picture question behind it, why are they claiming it or what triggered them to think, what am I going to get? Is there a big change in their career? Are they getting close to retirement? Is there potentially a lifestyle change? All these different things that actually allow us to tailor the answer. Whereas, as I mentioned earlier, it would have been basically, here's what you get. Here's how it's calculated. There's the end result. Rather than diving into, why do you want to know this? What is the reason behind it?
Sure. And I guess from my experience, I think veterans start to ask these sorts of questions quite late in their life. As you said, sort of there's been a change or they're approaching retirement. But as you know, there's certainly benefit to be had by having these conversations early. So could you talk to us a little bit about the benefits of starting this conversation early and being a little bit more prepared for, say, your transition, but also for retirement?
Yep. So I'll just maybe throw my dad a little bit under the bus here with this one, mainly because he was actually the very opposite. He was very early engaged in his DFRDB was the fund that he was in. To the point he was stitched up by one of my grandfather's colleagues when my dad was doing his entrance interview. My dad asked my granddad's mate, what should I ask them? When they're done interviewing me, what should I ask them? And my granddad's mate mentioned, just, ask about the DFRDB benefits. And this is a 17-year-old talking to, some senior officers, not even in defence yet, and asking questions about DFRDB. And, at the time, they laughed him out the room. They said, what are you talking about? Just go. You're done. Today, the meeting's over. But funnily enough, that is actually what we want people to be doing is, when they actually enlist, asking those questions of, what is my super? What can I do with my super? Because that's what our role is slowly becoming. And when I say slowly, we're sort of transitioning into it, of very much we want to be in that space of, when you're first starting out, here's the conversations we can have so that when you do come and see us 5, 10, 20, 30 years into your career, and that's not even defence career, that's just your working career. We take it from a very much a superannuation, a very much a retirement methodology rather than a defence methodology. At some point you will need to access super, and we want you to be asking us questions when you first start to maximise it, because there's little changes that people can make early on in their career that can set up their retirement completely differently. And it's as simple as, $50 a fortnight they could contribute into their super. They go from recruits on a $50,000 salary, $50,000 salary, straight up to a $70,000, $80,000 salary when they finish their recruits training. They potentially could, they're not, that 20 grand difference is an easy time to start putting extra money into super. But throwing myself under the bus, I can't judge anyone for not thinking about their super early on in their career. I worked for CSC and it probably took me 5 to 10 years to really actually go, hang on, what are the things I need to do? But doing it in my 30s is definitely better than doing it in my 40s and 50s. And that's what we want people to start thinking about is early engagement, small little changes, and understanding the big picture so that they can set themselves up for the best retirement.
No, it's fantastic, and you're not alone there, Sam. I'm certainly somebody who was slow to start with super and slow to appreciate financial well-being and I guess what I can do with my paying conditions. As you've rightly said, military service has some pretty good remuneration. It has some great pay and benefits. It's a cost-effective way to live. So really there is no reason why people can join the military, set themselves up really well. And that's regardless of what happens in the military. It's also regardless of what mode they transition from, I think. I think there's a real opportunity there. So it's certainly something really near and dear to my heart.
Exactly right. Just touching on that, sorry, just quickly if I can jump in there.
Of course.
We obviously look at it from a super side of things, but like you said, the living conditions and the other benefits they have can allow them to set up, as I said, that big picture. They come in to us and start talking about super, but we then end up talking to them about the first home super saver scheme, so buying their first property or, what they do with their allowances and stuff like that. So exactly right, it's not just the super side of it, it's the whole package allows them to really piece together their retirement and their financial security.
Thank you. As I said, it's a fantastic insight, and we understand that you have both your parents have been in the Air Force, so you really do get it sort of from both sides of the fence. So it's been great talking to you. In addition to your parents, your partner was also in the Air Force and has recently undergone transition.
Yeah, so she was 4 years in the RAAF as an avionics technician on the KC-30s out at Amberley. And unfortunately, her time was cut short. She absolutely loves working with planes and avionics and would probably prefer to still be there. However, unfortunately, her back injury prevented her from staying in, so she's at some point going to require double spinal fusion, so quite a significant back injury, and had to medically discharge. So I definitely got a unique look into the defence side of the medical transition space. Having worked in the transition space quite heavily for the last 10 years in the member education team, it was always obviously from CSC's side, with commentary or just looking from the outside in at what was happening at the defence side. But with my partner separating, I then got to see very much so the internal, transitions meetings and the medical appointments and, all the back and forth and the paperwork as well. I think it's honestly harder to get out than it is to get in to defence sometimes, looking at some of the paperwork. But all for good reason. It is defence, obviously trying to do all the right things with transitioning people the right way and supporting that process. And unfortunately, that comes with it a bit of admin. But it's a very daunting process, regardless of whether someone has all their ducks in a row or they've come and spoken to us, they've spoken to DVA, they've spoken to the transitions. There is a lot involved to it, and it can be very daunting and very stressful. And I think that's where I personally probably get a bit hung up in that space, I'll be honest, because we just see it so often that people are stressed and struggling with that process. And even just to put some context around it for people that go, I'm dealing with CSC occasionally and I'm struggling, or I'm stressed, or I'm dealing with DVA occasionally and I'm struggling and stressed. Even my partner, I've worked for CSC for 16 years, here's how it works, here's what you need to do, setting everything up to make it as smooth for her as possible, and she was still stressed. It's an old saying within defence that she's sort of thrown at me a few times. It's very much a hurry up and wait process. It's, you can do everything you need to do, but then you've got to wait for the next step. And that waiting, unfortunately, causes that, stressful or that daunting process. So, we've strived to make changes. I think CSC and the casework team have made some very positive changes in that process space. But early engagement, early conversation with us, with their doctors. Again, like I said, I get a little bit hung up in this space. If the medical evidence is there, benefits will be there to support them. But if the medical evidence isn't there, then the benefits won't be. So it's a bit of a catch-22 of, if I mention something to my doctor, I could be transitioned out. But if you can't do your job, there'll be benefits there to support you. And that's, the two need to work together. But it's a very stressful time to be sitting there thinking, I'm about to lose my job and I may not have an income. It was hard. It was very hard. And I have one-on-one meetings with a lot of members, and it's hard in that 30 minutes, hour meeting, that hearing and seeing these people go through it, but I don't have to take it home with me. Whereas that was very much, it was hard to see my partner go through that, and there's still some room for improvement. But early engagement with us, early engagement with DVA, and good, honest conversations about their health will make sure the right entitlements and the right support is there.
It's a great message, Sam, and like you said, if the medical evidence is there, the support's available, but I think the key is having those conversations early, so you've got more time to choose other avenues and have other options if you know it's not an outcome that you necessarily were hoping for during the process. It's not an experience I'd wish on anyone, or even as a family member. So thank you very much to your partner for her service. And it's great that you've had that insight and experience firsthand, and I'm sure you bring it to add value to what you're doing here with CSC. Just wrapping up for our chat today, I think there's also a perception out there that CSC only are just about super. However, I'm aware that there are also offering financial advisory services that are potentially a little bit broad. Can you just speak to that a little bit for us now?
Yeah, definitely. So CSC is definitely sort of branching out to more of a support process as well, not just the benefit, not just the money side of it, I guess. I think that's something that sort of gets hung up on from the outside looking in at us, is that it's all about the money. We're well aware that, you know, from a financial retirement point of view, money is important, but people need to be supported through that. And we have financial advisors to assist with financial advice who are experts in the schemes that we offer. So we're looking at finding ways to support members with our team, the general advice, the financial literacy, the big picture stuff. We've now got the financial advisors. It is a paid service for the financial advisors, but being a paid service, it's, you know, the more advice you need, the bigger the fee. The less advice you need, the lesser the fee. So it's structured fee, it's upfront fee. You know, there's no ongoing commissions or anything like that. So the advice is there to benefit their financial goals and their financial needs. And they're based slightly across the country, not in every city or state, every city, unfortunately. But they do provide Skype and virtual meetings as well. So yeah, we definitely have a lot of not super related support there. You know, potentially newsletters, this podcast moving forward as well. You know, there's plenty of avenues to get assistance, to get information, and you know, the member education, the call centre, financial advice, all these different support networks to help members understand their position and hopefully support them through their career and through their retirement.
That's fantastic, Sam. You're stealing my thunder, which was basically, if people want to know more about education and where to find financial advice service with CSC, I'm presuming that will be through the call centre, as you rightly said, and also on the website.
Yeah, correct. So there's a lot of information there, and we've also got some webinars, live webinars that we'll run. So our team once a month starting next year, again on general financial literacy, but for those that are very technical based, there'll also be some scheme specific ones as well, so people can register for them for free as well through our website. Thank
you, Sam, and I'll be sure to let the audience know when those are coming up also. You've been fantastic today. Thank you very much for your time.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's just any way we can get some information out there to members, we're happy to jump on board from our team and hopefully get everything out there that members need.
Thank you, Sam, for joining us and all of our listeners. We hope you got valuable insights from this discussion today. You can listen to more episodes by keeping an eye out on our social media channels or visit our webpage for future updates.